history and all the stories that we've heard knows that you never had any intention of playing Grease. No question in my mind from day one, you wanted to play that Terminator character.
Well, it's a good take, but I mean, I tell you that I somehow felt, because I was counting the lines, even though obviously the character was interesting to me, just because it was not enough lines, I felt like that I was just on such a good momentum at that point in my career of playing a hero. I just did two of the Conan movies, and I felt like, okay, I'm now accepted internationally to be a leading man and to be a hero, because that was my goal. So don't go and start playing a villain in the middle of that. Do another few heroic roles, and then maybe you can play a hero in a James Bond movie or something like that. So that was my thinking. So I was very adamant about it, and that's why I was kind of worried about playing all of a sudden a villain. But when Jim explained to me that the way he wants to film it, and the way it's going to come out, that people actually in the end would cheer and applaud for my character, I then went along with him and I trusted him that he would do that. And that's exactly what he did, and it exactly came out like that. That when we showed, for instance, the movie Terminator 1 to 500 cops, we had a screening for the cops in Los Angeles, I remember. And there was 500 of them. They were cheering when I wiped out all the cops in the movie. And I wiped out the whole police station and ripped everything out, and it was like total mayhem. Because, as Jim Cameron said, because I was a machine. I was not, they did not look at us, Arnold was doing all this. It was like this machine that Arnold was playing was doing all this. So it was because it was a machine, he got away with it, and he was absolutely correct with that.
Certainly that would be one of your most iconic characters, if not the most. Talk to me a little bit about the Expendables. Look like you guys are all having some fun. I think probably most of the people here have seen it. Any funny stories from that whole cast of ensemble that got together?
Well, when you work with so many great athletes and tough guys and actors, you always have a great time. And the great thing is, like, for me, it was especially fun because I didn't really have to be there for 3 months. I went to Bulgaria and just shot my scenes. It was like 8 days of filming. We had a lot of laughs, we created a lot of action. The guys were all in a good mood because they were all together. And the last one, for instance, with Ronda Rousey, the UFC world champion that just won with a record 14 seconds of submission, who has this trick of almost breaking every girl's arm just before they tap out. She was also one of those wonderful people to work with. She's the toughest woman that you can think of in the ring, but really a sweetheart of a girl and really great to work with. And she did a great job with her acting and all that. So, every one of those characters, including Sly, who this is his project, of course, and he's one of the only people that I can think of that has had 3 major franchises like that. From Rocky to Rambo to now the Expendables. He's really a genius in the way he thinks and the way he creates these characters. And to work with him, and especially in the first Expendables, he directed me. And that was also very fun. He directed Bruce Willis and me. And, I didn't know my lines. And Bruce Willis didn't know his lines for different reasons. I didn't know my lines because I was working until midnight in Sacramento on Friday, and then the next morning all of a sudden I was filming this scene. So I was kind of on the way to the set, kind of like practicing my lines. So obviously we screwed it up a few times. And Sly was like screaming. It was the funniest thing. It was like, one day Bruce screwed it up, the next day I screwed it up, the next day Bruce screwed it up, so then I got mine right, he screwed it up. So it was one of the things, and then Sly started screaming, he says, "It's gonna cost you a fortune." Because I said, "Well, I'm charging you for doing this work." Complaining about it, I said, Because I told him, I said, and he said, how much money do you want for the camera? I said, nothing. I said, I don't care. I'm not right now in the movie business. I'm just doing this as a favor. And so, but he was screaming how much money they're costing him. It was hilarious. But then eventually we got our act together, and there was, you know, 1 or 2 takes where we got everything the right way, and we could move on. But we shot it for like 4 hours. That was all. But the Expendables movies, it's just a fun thing because they're really fun characters. You know, I'm looking forward literally to do another one with him. As long as the stories are good and as long as the actor is creative, I think you always have a win in your hands there.
You and Sly seem to be close friends these days. Back in the 80s, did you guys have any sort of a rivalry going between you guys?
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of egos involved. You know, that he was kind of like coming up with his movies and started making a lot of money, and I was kind of behind him. And his movies became successful, very successful earlier on, and then I was kind of following him. And then all of a sudden I started seeing this whole thing kind of like a Mr. Olympia competition. And I got to eliminate my opponent. And so it was kind of me, you know, being on this whole thing about, you know, putting pictures up of Sly and on the wall and saying, okay, this guy had to be taken down. so then obviously the competition became very severe. I mean, it was like, who has, you know, less body fat, who has bigger muscles, who shows his body more often in a movie, who kills more people, who uses better ammunition that causes the most damage, who uses the biggest guns. So all of a sudden we use guns from helicopters that normally human beings don't even use, right? They're mounted in a helicopter because they're so heavy. But of course we had them built lighter so we can hoard them, and then we were shooting, you know, people with these machine guns that run tanks and that run helicopters, really. And so it just went absolutely insane, the whole thing. The knives got bigger, that long, the knives that you have, then they got longer and longer, and all of a sudden it was like a sword hanging down the side of your thighs, you know, and then the most unique kills. How many people do you kill, and how do you kill them, and everything like that. And he would call me and say, oh, I just sliced, I just sliced, you know, 15 people's throat. And I said, it's nothing. I say, I just put an explosive into someone's mouth and he blew up his head. And we would just like egg each other on and attack each other's performances and everything like that. So it was just idiotic stuff. I did something, he did something. This is how we went back and forth the whole time.